Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy Fears. We're back with a talk video, and I debated whether or not I was going to put out a speculation video at all this quarter. Few issues, biggest one being there wasn't enough time in my schedule at the start of the quarter to put this out in a timely fashion, and as the weeks went on, the relevancy of this sort of exercise diminishes. On top of that, after the announcement of Dr. Aphra and the past road aheads, it was pretty clear what this quarter was going to be about. Those being the marquee requirement releases culminating in her event, the new territory battle, and the heavily hinted at release of Red 5. So speculation beyond that is limited to Omicrons and any other incidental releases that may or may not occur. But another major reason is the presence of supposed leaks. Leaks work in opposition to a video like this. But I decided it was still worth putting out a video this quarter, in part to focus on what I think about leaks and what they mean for the game and the community. And that's where I think we'll start. We'll do this video a little out of order, a little bit differently, but we'll still hit the highlights, last quarter's wins, what I think is going to be happening for the remainder of the quarter, which at this point won't be too much in addition to what we've already mentioned. So we will instead comment a little bit on what has happened and what is about to happen. Here we have the Lucasfilm and Marvel schedules for 2022 and the start of 2023. We've been looking at these in the past few quarterly speculation videos because the bird's eye view of this gives us an idea of what could be CG's priorities in the coming months. Obviously this month it has been Andor, Tales of the Jedi. Those are the big items, and there's nothing really happening until the end of the quarter. But at the start of next quarter we have Bad Batch Season 2, which was delayed from October of this year. It was going to overlap a bit more with Andor. After that we've got Mando Season 3 on the schedule for late February. Then the only other thing with some confirmed dates, Indiana Jones Fallen Order for some time in March. The rest, we're going to have to wait till we have more information for when that is going to be happening. And Indiana Jones and Willow, those are relevant dates because they are impacting how Lucasfilm is looking at their entire docket. The same thing with the Marvel schedule, which I didn't highlight too much because we have some movies, we don't know when the shows are coming out, but Disney tends to stagger the Disney and Marvel releases, at least to a certain extent. We can see that in the 2022 schedule, and in the 2021 schedule it was pretty clear. They try not to overlap too much, but they could do a better job of it. Now, of course, CG's schedule doesn't always sync up with the Lucasfilm schedule. Very often we have a 6-month delay like we have with Scythe and Kenobi right now, or Chrysanthemum and Book of Boba Fett. But sometimes CG can look at what is going on and anticipate and release a character that can be semi-related, like Radis and Rogue One and Andor that happened prior to the release of the Andor series. So we'll look at this more in January when we do the next quarterly speculation video. But we have Bad Batch Season 2 and Mando Season 3 happening, so we could see some characters from Bad Batch Season 1 appearing around then, and we have a number of characters from Book of Boba Fett and Mando Season 2 who could make appearances sometime next quarter, which will be part of that quarterly speculation video. Leaks. There's a couple different ways to think about leaks. In some senses, you can see them as analogous to other technological leaks from a tech company, like hardware spec leaks, or they can be seen like leaks from a political or business administration, where in general all of those leaks are fairly welcome. They are illuminating and they can largely be productive. But as I've thought about these recent leaks in regards to the game, particularly within the framework of their frequency, volume, and scope, I think I'm considering these leaks more like spoilers. And I want players, creators, and the community at large to engage with these leaks like they are spoilers. Some players will want to know that information, and others won't. I don't care so much about a leak like Sana Staros. That announcement is close enough to her actual in-game release that it isn't a major spoiler and she was going to be on my after list had I had the time to put one out. But these other releases where the next year of content has possibly been leaked, that to me is a major spoiler. Let that really sink and feel the full implication of what that leak means. That means the next year of content that we could have as a community been getting excited for, anticipating, speculating on, have conversations and discussions about, theorize, that's just been squashed. Or at a minimum, it has dampened the potential enthusiasm because a large portion of the community will have already known it's coming. And sure, with the Lucasfilm schedule, some of those things are predictable, but there's a vast difference between predictability and knowing something for a fact. What this could tangibly mean is we get things like fewer puzzles, because why put in the effort to make a puzzle for a character that has already been spoiled? For content creators, it means why put out a video planting a flag saying, I think a character is coming in the next couple of months, because we already know that they are. It means viewers watching a video don't get as much enjoyment out of watching it or participating in the community. Leaks are gonna happen. I get the motivation for them. It's always going to be there. That knowledge has value for roster prep. Some people want the momentary clout. So instead, I think it's time that SWGOH-related leaks are treated as spoilers. I don't want to see artwork and thumbnails on videos telling me what they are in advance. Let those who want to engage with them engage. Let the rest of us live in ignorance, because not knowing what our next year is going to be like means we have something to look forward to. And I want to be able to look forward to things in this game and not just know what is going to happen. There's another potential impact we need to consider. CG could change and scrap plans in reaction to these. There's been leaks in the past that have never come to fruition, and that may be because they were bogus to begin with, but it may have also been because CG chose to pivot instead, and that may mean things were delayed, or that we never got content at all that we could have got. There was a supposed leak before that said Zori Bliss and her ship were coming to game, along with the Ravager. It's possible those leaks weren't real at all. Or it's possible CG chose to shift directions. We don't know. And this time around, let's take the example of Crosshair. There was a leak that implied his release was imminent. When considering the original release date for Bad Batch Season 2, that timing would have made a ton of sense. Bad Batch Season 2 was supposed to come out by now. It's now been delayed until the start of the new year. CG could have prepared Crosshair for a November or December release, and even though Lucasfilm delayed Bad Batch Season 2, CG could have chose to maintain their schedule to not impact their in-house priorities. But now there's every reason for CG to delay Crosshair until the actual release of Bad Batch Season 2. Ultimately, that's not a big deal, but I think it's illustrative of the impact of this kind of information. I think most people think that there are no consequences to these kinds of moves, but CG can make changes to schedules or releases in response, and that may mean for us less content or delayed content. Now to quickly address our recent wins from this series of videos, Radis and the Profundity. Technically Radis was in the previous video's wins, and we already claimed the Profundity since it was announced, but its release falls into the purview of this video. Chrysanthemum was an easy one for everyone to predict, but he's a win too. The big win is we finally saw Gamorrean Guard get a rework and Omicron and become required for something. He was someone I was hammering for a long time, so finally happy to see that addressed. Bib Fortuna I need to address, since he, along with Gamu, has been in nearly every speculation video since their inception. Now obviously he's coming out at some point, but now he's likely coming out as a lifter character, which for Jabba may mean it's going to be a while, so this is the first time I don't think he's imminent, and I'm presenting him as my most notable loss. For the remainder of this quarter, we won't see much more than Red 5 It's a little early to call it a wins until it's official, since CG could still move it into next quarter. We've been seeing clues for approaching 6 months anyway, but we've been calling Red 5 all year in these videos, so instead we will mention it here. And if you've watched late into my Grand Arena videos, into the fleet section, you know how often I rail against the Ravenclaw fleet. It's clearly missing a major piece, and Red 5 has all the signs to being the final portion of that fleet that really unlocks its potential in giving us an X-Wing squadron. The bigger thing we can anticipate for the rest of this quarter are Omicrons, and the Cad Bane Omicron potential we first talked about last quarter. He's worthy, he's in need of some sort of touch-up, he's a beloved character, and the timing would be relevant because of the forthcoming release of Mando Season 3, which is somewhat related to Book of Boba Fett being Mando Season 2.5. So the synergy is there, plus Bad Batch Season 2 and Cad had a big presence in Bad Batch Season 1. So with the forthcoming schedule, Cad Bane would be a very sensible candidate for an Omicron. The other big candidate is Cody. Technically, it could be Sergeant as well, but I think Cody is the more likely one, especially now that we're getting a new territory battle. This is CG's last real opportunity to make this Omicron even semi-relevant. It could technically help out fringe guilds that aren't quite ready for the new territory battle. They could throw this one on, get a little bit of get to currency. Not that it would be worth it, but it'd be an option. I wasn't going to add free-to-play gearing this video, which is why it's not on the topic list, since I don't typically do them in the quarterly speculation videos, but we've got such a big backlog, we'll try and do it quick. This is the quarterly speculation from September 14th. I'm going into this blind, so let's see what I even did. The video's named Relics, so Inquisitor Relics, so that's the bulk of it, but it looks like I'm throwing on Zetas for BB-8. Make them a little bit more survivable. I had left that one off for a long time for a variety of reasons. It just wasn't enough of a difference maker, but at this point I think I wanted the fringe benefit, probably for a droid squad or sortie squad. I was expecting the Grand Inquisitor to be back at the end of September. That would have been the 3-month mark. So I had brought up all of the Inquisitors to that level in anticipation of his release, not expecting that I'd have to wait another 3 months, which is disappointing to me because you want to build a moat. You want to, like, this is the whole point of doing gearing the way that I do, and focusing on the projects in the way that I focus on them. Like, I had a number of conversations with Tract over on the Discord about my logic of why I worked on them and when I did. And did not expect that I'd have to wait as long as I had. Because now it's at a point where everyone can catch up, and with gear the way that they are, everyone else can also work on the Inquisitors more easily than it would have been. So the moat isn't there. We're going to talk more about this in a video. It's something I want to address. You saw me work on Bisson for the Profundity event as well. That was... both these events we're working towards at the same time. What I'm doing now is I'm taking the Inquisitors up gradually, because I was also working on the Assault Battle at this time, which in here I'm just trying to figure out what's that minimum level for Challenge Tier 2. Going through the event, wasting a bunch of time trying to see if I could do it, what the minimum relic level that I could do it in, and it's basically Relic 5. You need to be Grand Inquisitor quality in order to beat that. With my attempts, I think it was around like Wave 4, where Ninth Sister would die, or maybe it was Wave 5, Ninth Sister would die. I think it was whichever wave has Yoda. It would fall apart then. not worth the time for you to figure out. Just, if you like to try and figure out minimum levels like I do, just take these guys up to Relic 5. At least it's a semi-fun assault battle. If that's something you want an LVT video on, a lowest viable teams video on, we could put one out. It's not a particularly hard event. It's more just, do you want to grind out the time? I think we're not going to play this out. You get the idea. Actually, we will show just the completion of the quest. Now, obviously, with a video like this, I don't think that we're going to fundamentally change anything. I just want to introduce some things to think about. This is a small channel with a niche audience, and I want to bring different points of view of how we can reframe how to think about things, even if it's a devil's advocate point of view. But thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone, and be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.